Columns from the column. Anyone who has actually read the almost 100 pages of the Georgia law would know that it is not an attempt to keep black voters from voting. Written by Christine Flowers, 11 a.m., April 7, 2021. Times columnist Christine Flowers. I am so glad the whole white supremacy and gun nut narrative is over, so we can get back to the one about voter suppression. Those horrific shootings late last month diverted our attention away from what President Joe Biden called Jim Crow on steroids, namely the recent controversial voting reform legislation passed in Georgia and signed by Governor Brian Kemp. Anyone who has actually read the almost 100 pages of the Georgia law would know that it is not an attempt to keep black voters from voting. It is not akin to the KKK roadblocks that my father encountered in Mississippi in 1967. It is not anywhere near as egregious as the murder of Viola Liuzzo, a white woman assassinated by the Klan in Alabama because she was accompanying black friends to the airport after a voting rights rally. It doesn't come close to creating the atmosphere on the Edmund Pettus Bridge, the site of the late John Lewis near-fatal beating. It simply doesn't measure up to being Jim Crow on steroids. I think that phrase is what angered me the most. Biden tried to play politics when he compared what Georgia did to what happened during the 1950s and 60s. The reason I felt that rage is because so many people who were born after Goodman, Cheney, and Schwerner were murdered and thrown into a Philadelphia, Mississippi, ditch will take what the president is saying at face value. The sort of folk who get their news in tweets and social media spasms might actually believe that forcing someone to bring their own water to stand in a voting line is a human rights violation. They have no first-hand memory of crowds mowed down by Bull Connor's water hoses, more powerful and at least as damaging as pepper spray. They'd have to Google the name Medgar Evers to realize that needing some form of readily available ID to cast a vote is not the same thing as getting gunned down in your driveway. They like the poetry of Amanda Gorman, their generation's Maya Angelou, appreciate the stylized words of woke rappers like Common, and love the music played on a loop, Rise Up. Rise Up, on the saccharine promos of self-interested cable networks. They think they are warriors because of the things they post on TikTok and Instagram, and the elders on the left let them think that they are part of a movement as big and as great as what came before. And now they have a president telling them that Jim Crow is back and better than ever. Or bigger than ever. Or whatever he needs to say to get people to love him and hate his predecessor. The problem is when you actually read the law and its provisions, you see that nothing in it comes close to destroying the right to vote.